We may finally have a counter to Darkrai Giratina thanks to one player from Japan in the most recent Pokemon Pocket Tournament. Let's talk about it. Shu0802 went 11-1 in the most recent Ursiiday tournament here with Blastoise, a Pokemon that we haven't seen since Season 1, a Pokemon that's never fully been involved in the meta but has finally found its way to be relevant. 11-1 is incredibly impressive. They were unbeaten and did finally lose, but look at the list of decks that they beat along the way. We may finally have a counter that's not only good into Giratina Darkrai, but it also doesn't struggle against any other deck. It even beat the Magnezone Skarmory deck, which is notorious for beating anything that counters Giratina Darkrai. Honestly, it feels like people pay other people to play this in tournaments, because like the Magnezone Skarmory never wins and will never come close to winning, but it absolutely destroys any other deck that other than Giratina Darkrai. Interesting as well, it beat another similar deck in Manaphy Gyarados. We've seen quite a few now Manaphy archetypes that are used with several water Pokemon. I do think Blastoise though could be the best option. Unfortunately, now for the third week running, we have seen a Giratina Darkrai winner in the tournament. It did find its way to a final against the Gyarados EX Manaphy, but it did win in that final. And as you see here, if you look across the top 16 into the top 64, there's a lots and lots of Giratina Darkrai, a couple sprinkles of other decks in here. Arceus Carnivine is a deck I like to use. Magnezone Meowscarada was used by someone recently, and it's become a little bit more popular. But unfortunately, we do have the same winner as before. However, the reason why I am so optimistic, if we look in the metagame, you will see all the way down here, only 2 people in the whole tournament used Blastoise Manaphy, and the other person here who did drop out the tournament, I mean, he didn't even use Articuno. You have to use Pokemon in a specific way. If you have Articuno, you can then essentially have Manaphy get knocked out, then you have another 1-point Pokemon come in, get knocked out, and then you finish with Blastoise. That's a really important thing and a huge difference between the two decks. Some Blastoise decks might choose to have Palkia in the future. I like Articuno. It's 1 retreat cost and it can paralyze, and that extra turn of stall might just be what you need to find your Blastoise. Who knows? Similar decks like Palkia EX do use multiple Palkia. We've seen Gyarados often use Articuno and Palkia, so it doesn't surprise me that this kind of deck also uses another 1-point Pokemon as an attacker. Now you might be asking the question, why is Blastoise so good in this meta? Did this person have a one-time fantastic tournament? I don't think so. Blastoise with 5 energy does swing for 160 damage. That's a lot of damage. 180 with a red. Notably, Blastoise one-shots Darkrai no matter what it's got. If it's got a cape, a rocky helmet, no matter what, it will one-shot a Darkrai if it has 5 energies. Now, if Giratina is wearing a cape, it doesn't actually one-shot Giratina, but this is why this player had a copy of red to make sure they can chew through Giratina in one go. I think it matches into the meta brilliantly, and I think it's the best. If you can ramp it up with Manaphy, I think you get more out of this. Palkia, you lose energy when you attack, and it swings for less than Blastoise. And Gyarados can only swing for 140, 160 with a red, so you need to often use a red in order to beat Darkrai with a cape. Blastoise doesn't even know who Darkrai is. Iridifer Sustain is really good, and it suppresses Cyrus. I think having things fully healed in the back is really important in this kind of meta. You're not going to bring in Manaphy to snipe it with chip damage. I think it's really useful. Giant Cape can be used on Manaphy to make it last an extra turn. You can use it on Blastoise to give it that extra sustain. Iono is brilliant in these kind of decks where you need to evolve multiple times. If you start with a bad hand but you have Iono, you get a second chance of it. And sometimes this can just be enough to rescue you the game. Pokemon communication. I mean, I've always been a fan of 1 Iono, 1 communication. There are times where some people say, oh, bring 2 communication, or sometimes some people say bring 2 Iono. I think having 1 of each is absolutely perfect. Very similar to me in bringing 1 Sabrina, 1 Cyrus. You keep every option open to you, essentially. 1 Misty can flip the game as well. I wonder if other people, if they start to use this deck, will actually implement 2 Misties. Maybe if you start with Articuno, 1 turn Misty, it can win the game on the spot. Maybe that's something they could look into. I think one Misty is fine. Obviously, the point is we ramp up with Manaphy. Misty is like something extra if you get it. But overall, considering only one person really used this deck, I think they did incredibly well. And we could start to see more and more people. I guarantee next week, because of how well this deck has done out of nowhere, there will be lots more people using it. And the main reason for that is, unfortunately, in the metagame. If you have a look at the win percentage, it's dire for some of these popular decks. Gyarados, Manaphy, less than 50. Magnezone, Meowscarada, less than 50. In fact, pretty much all of these are less than 50. Darkrai, Greninja is not a bad deck. I sometimes use that myself. And we've seen Magnezone Skarmory, but the issue with Magnezone Skarmory is that it does absolutely woeful into Giratina Darkrai. Like 28% is horrendous. But look, it destroys its biggest counter with the Magnezone Meowscarada. Like, that's what I mean. It's on the payroll. It's crazy. Look at this as well. 70% into Gyarados Manaphy. Another counter to Darkrai Giratina. Charizard Moltres. A Charizard one-shots Giratina and Dark. One-shots anything in the game. Except for a Bastiodon if it flips heads. Absolutely destroys so many decks that do so well into the meta. Now, Bixie couldn't quite manage to win back-to-back tournaments. I mean, a very good 7th place finish in fairness to Bixie, but we do have a new winner this week. Unfortunately, it is the same deck, but they did lose 2 games. It wasn't perfect by them. But again, it's the similar concept that we're starting to see more and more people implement. The one Mars to shut down the Meowscarada decks. It's also very good in situations where if your opponent needs to use a Sabrina or Cyrus to win the game, or you win it on the spot, a Mars comes in and shuts it down, maybe does take away the card they need. I've lost games where I've had a red that wins me the game. I've had a Sabrina that wins me the game. But Mars takes it away. I only would have had 1 turn to get what I need before I lose the game. And Mars literally has been the bane of my existence. We're back to 2 Cape, 2 Rocky Helmet. Again, giving all 4 Pokemon a tool is brilliant. Getting a tool early. I think a Rocky Helmet's really good into the fighting decks. Anything that has a low HP count. Extra chip from Darkrai's Nightmare Aura along with Rocky Helmet, I think, can be really brutal into some of the smaller decks. This deck includes a Pokemon Center Lady as well, along with 1 Leaf, 1 Sabrina, 1 Cyrus. Again, we spoke about that. It's got a lot of sustain. It's got 1 red for probably the Giratina matchup. With a cape. So yeah, I think this deck's really good. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, haven't we? I do want to briefly point out Jody Azarelli's deck. Someone who streamed this game, is a very popular streamer as well, as he decided to go something slightly different. He might have already seen it. Team Rocket Grunt, essentially for the mirror, and I love this. It's just pure RNG. It's this game to a T. I love the use of this, and there were moments that he had where he would just simply get heads that wins in the game, just completely removes the energy off his opponent. Unfortunately for him, I think he bricked in his game and yeah, lost in probably the worst way possible to lose in this kind of game. But again, the idea that Mars is still there. We've seen some sustain. He does lose 1 Rocky Helmet, but his potions are there, and I think you have to trade in a Pokemon Center Lady. But I actually really like it. I think Team Rocket Grunt is a really funny card to use. And there's no card like it in the game. So this is taken from Ursiiday's live stream. She does the biggest Pokemon Pocket tournaments. I mean, when these first started, they had over 2,000 people. We're 6 months in. Every week she does it. Please do check her out. She's on YouTube, Twitch. And yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have this data if it weren't for her tournaments. So this is the Blastoise matchup we were talking about. Articuno against Palkia. I mean, the only thing that our Blastoise player would be worried about is a Sabrina, but unfortunately for his opponent, he didn't have it. With only 6 cards left, his only 1 copy of Sabrina was in that 6, and yeah, there's the shot. And you'll see why Blastoise is so oppressive. I mean, he finally got his 5 energies. Yeah, there's the heavy damage into Gyarados, and like it's just too much to go from here. Misty would have been something. He got 1 heads from Misty, but not enough to ramp up the back. And yeah, I mean, he tried to pivot his other Gyarados in, but this is where it becomes just entirely too desperate. And eventually, there is a concede. So another game here where this time the Blastoise player, unfortunately, bricked at the start. And we see the Meowscarada Beedrill player take full advantage. Early damage into Manaphy. Squirtle on the bench, desperate to try and get some more energy on it. Still no Wartortle. And yeah, we get a full evolution into Meowscarada before we even get Wartortle on the bench. Even Kakuna has evolved in the back. And yeah, there goes Manaphy. Now, unfortunately for Shud, he's just stuck here. So he communicates a Squirtle out, gets Articuno, and the idea now is stall until you get Wartortle and hope. Just hope and pray that you can just ride through the storm here of Meowscarada. And we've all been in this situation when we played this game. It's just, you know, hope and pray. Already, he's so far through his deck, and he still hasn't got a single Wartortle. Meanwhile, his opponent seems to have almost everything. But would you be surprised if I tell you he actually wins this game? You wouldn't think it from this position. He manages to win this game. There's a lot of thought here about what he could do with the Articuno. I mean, he used Iono and it didn't help, so he uses Irida to get one more turn of stall on the Articuno. He knows Meowscarada can only do 60 damage into non-EX. He gives him one more turn. 5 cards in the deck there. Still no Wartortle. Literally 2 of the 5 cards left. He finally gets Wartortle. And now the idea of if Misty can go into Articuno, you might be able to keep Articuno alive essentially. But Misty does miss. It's in the name, I suppose. And Articuno is sacrificed. Interesting play here. You might think this is a throw hit, but Gustavo doesn't quite get Beedrill, and the idea is he can sacrifice Kakuna and have 2 Meowscaradas swing into Blastoise. But he only has 1 copy of Beedrill, and now even Shud probably thinks his time is up. He's looking at the 5 cards left. He's thinking he knows Beedrill is probably in his hand. There's now 4 cards left. What are the odds that Beedrill is still in that deck? And his opponent plays into the Beedrill. Look, he even thought about conceding there. Some sustain there, not enough really. Against the Meowscarada. He does one-shot the Meowscarada through K, but as you can see, the pivotal moment here, with only 3 cards left in the deck, and with the fail of the Team Rocket Grunt, we see no Meowscarada and the Blastoise player wins. And crazy comeback. Now, if we go all the way back, if we go back to here, he had like 5 cards in his deck. You'd never expect someone to win from this position. There's no way on the planet you'd expect someone to win on this position. Final game I'll show you today is against a Giratina Darkrai with a Magnezone. Now, the idea here, Druddigon is 1 point, Magnezone is 1 point. Giratina Darkrai can finish off. It will most likely be Giratina. Darkrai might just be there for pressure with Chip Shot. So we see a Wartortle and a Squirtle on the back. Now the idea our opponent is going for here, he gets to attach energy to Druddigon so he doesn't need to leaf. So he can use Sabrina. He can only use 1 supporter at a time. So he gets to pivot out the Druddigon and use Magneton, not Magnezone. He knows if Blastoise comes in, Magneton will probably die. Well, Magnezone will die anyway. So it might just be saving the Magnezone in the future. So I actually like that play because Blastoise does come in. Druddigon back out. Shud doesn't play a copy of Sabrina, so he's very safe to do this. And again, it's more and more stall. 1 point each. And the Blastoise player, although he could take out the Druddigon, he would die to Giratina. If Druddigon chip damage and then chip from Darkrai and attack from Giratina would win the game for Frog EX Zephyr. So he needs to stall essentially, which is exactly what he's going to do here. He understands the situation he's in. It's a 3 retreat cost, which does hurt. But he knows that if he doesn't do that right now, he loses the game on the spot. So unfortunately, these are the decisions you have to make. I see some people sometimes go ahead with ideas that they know will lose, and I don't really understand why. You might as well play to every chance you've got. Huge Irida here stops Cyrus from being used essentially on the Blastoise. So I do like that play as well. Remember, the Sabrina got used by the Darkrai player, so all he's got is a Cyrus now. So essentially, the Blastoise player controls what can be bought in by Cyrus at this point. The professor's research will obviously be looking for the Articuno. You don't want to come in with Blastoise. The idea would be to take out the Druddigon with the Articuno and force a Pokemon in that will be destroyed by Blastoise, essentially. And I think Zephyr is starting to realise that. Rocky Helmet comes in on Druddigon, and at this point you may start to see it might already be over. Find an Articuno at that moment, I think, won the game on the spot for me, because I struggle to see a way around it, to be honest, because if you take out the Articuno, even if you find a way, say you bring in Magnezone dies to Blastoise. Blastoise with 180 health survives anything that Giratina Darkrai can put at him. He does have a copy of Red. Essentially, it's game over. The paralysis on the Druddigon is brutal here as well, so you can't even pivot out the Druddigon. So that, I mean, that just... A game to me that's already over is even more already over. It would mean Articuno dies to Druddigon with Rough Skin and the Rocky Helmet, but it means nothing. Blastoise, with its insanely high HP pool, no matter what is thrown at it, it will just eat it. It will just eat it and then one-shot whatever it has back. And look, the desperation on Zephyr right now is... Manaphy was healed. The Iridone Manaphy was huge. It stopped Manaphy from being brought out. Cape on the Giratina out of desperation. It's just over. There's nothing you can do. Chip Shot with Darkrai. Even Red on Giratina, it's not enough. And we'll see the Red get used by Blastoise. And that's just game over. Like, essentially, as soon as Articuno was brought out, it was done. It was done. And this is why you use 1-point Pokemon alongside your EXs. As long as there are multiple, it is fine. The other Blastoise player only used Blastoise and Manaphy. Without Articuno, he'd never get opportunities like that, and he would lose the game. It's why it's important. So let me know what you guys think. Is there hope for Blastoise Manaphy? Is there hope for this game to not be completely dominated by Darkrai Giratina? At this point, I'm rooting for anything that isn't Giratina Darkrai. I was rooting for Blastoise all the way, and look, only one defeat in all that time. And that's just one person running it. Maybe it's delusion. But I think more people running this, we could actually see something other than Giratina Darkrai win up until the next set comes out. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you again very soon.